We talked already about the JMX interface. Apart from configuration, there is also reporting. And that's another important point when you have to deal with support. Basically, there will be now a button which you can press and dump the full status of the system to be emailed to support. And that's really, facilitating the process of information gathering between the customers and support. Last, and also very important, and I think it shows the enterprise readiness of Alfresco, is the capability of having runtime index consistency check and fix. So in huge installation, huge terabyte Alfresco installation, the indexes, especially in a cluster infrastructure, are the most tricky part to be maintained in production. So as of Alfresco 3.2, you will be able, first of all, to run runtime checks on the status of the indexes and their consistency. And secondly, to re-index without restarting the server, meaning you can decide to re-index from a specific point in time or from a specific transaction. And, the sysadmin will really, really love that. Moving along to the repository enhancements, there are, of course, the first important part, which is very related to the monitoring capabilities we've been discussing, is the introduction of subsystems. So, as you may know, Alfresco repository is based on Spring. So there is already a very high degree of modularization and low coupling between the different Alfresco services. But the introduction of subsystems, so Alfresco realized that there are logical modules within the repository which can be treated as a whole and don't impact other subsystems. For example, one example of subsystem is the authentication subsystem. Basically, sometimes you had, in the previous Alfresco version, in startup phase, you had a non-working authentication that was just putting down your server. Right now, subsystems are treated as atoms, basically, which don't impact on each other. And each of the subsystems has a configuration interface on the JMX console that we discussed before. So it's really going into putting some very good borders between the functionalities of Alfresco. This is going to be interesting. The CMIS interface is driving a whole new set of languages, of search languages in Alfresco. So first of all, the CMIS SQL, which is the standard decided for the CMIS standard to query documents. So in a sort of style, select from where, is now completely supported by Alfresco, and there are some extensions which are Alfresco specific, so for example to query on aspects. But definitely the most important addition here is the so-called Alfresco FTS, full text search. So this really adds a new extent of capabilities to the Alfresco query languages, meaning that you can search, you can do complete Google style kind of searches using wildcards, using proximity, using much more advanced capabilities than the existing Alfresco full text search was supporting. And that's completely independent by Lucene. So it was done completely by Alfresco. As usual, Alfresco allows access to these APIs from all of the languages that it supports. So from Java, either from the Node browser or from more scripting kind of interaction from the JavaScript. Few words on the WCM enhancements. I'm not going to go into pretty much detail there, but for your information, 3.2 Enterprise delivers clustered architecture for WCM. So with 3.2 Enterprise, we have now a full repository, DM plus WCM, which could be completely clustered and so support those high level and high load authoring sites like for Activision, or we are one of the biggest clients is Sky Italy, that is powering his public website with Alfresco. Basically enabling the idea of an integrated enterprise for which all kind of content may it be documents, may it be web content or records, is managed throughout the whole content life cycle and delivered throughout a multi-channel delivery model. That's the other big improvement in WCM 3.2. Through the different channels that, you know, either the typical sites or the mobile with the new mobile support, or even your custom delivery channel, which could be, for example, a portal, throughout the new deployment infrastructure.